Morning guys, the Blogging Buddhist here, coming to you from his car. It's Friday morning, 8 o'clock, it's minus 19 degrees out. I just brought my son Nathan to his bus stop. He's pretty stoked because it's Friday. He's looking forward to the weekend and having a couple of days off. And truth be told, if he can behave himself for more than 15 minutes once he gets home tonight, I'm kind of looking forward to what activities we might be able to get up to on the weekend as well. Which is why today's topic of conversation is why you should never force your kids into karate. Before I get into that topic, I'd like you to take a quick second, click the follow button if you haven't done so already, or the subscribe button, whichever one appears on your screen just below the video here, and make sure your notifications are turned on so that you'll get a notification every time I put out some new content. Now, I started karate all the way back in the late 1980s. This was at a time when my diabetes was definitely no spa treatment, and I was having a lot of medical difficulties and health difficulties and stuff, and I wanted to do something more than just go to the doctor and be told that I'm probably not going to see my 20s. So I wanted to get into the martial arts. I tried out a couple of different schools before I landed on karate, which turned out to be the one that suited me. But the joke of it is that my parents didn't approve. They didn't want me doing it. And in fact, they flat out told me, they used my diabetes as an excuse. They said, no, they're going to hurt you. They're going to kick you and punch you. You're not going to be able to keep up. Your blood sugar will bottom out. It's a 2-hour workout. How are you supposed to survive that long without food and water? Not that all of that was 100% incorrect, but of course, being a child of the 80s, I did exactly what every 80s movie has ever depicted of a child my age. I joined karate behind their back. And I ended up doing karate for the first year or two without my parents necessarily noticing. Not that they didn't have their doubts or know that I was up to something when I'd be going out, but it wasn't until I had to start paying for certain things like a karate uniform and belt tests and things of that sort, where I needed some extra money that couldn't be covered by my allowance, that I finally ended up having to tell them about it. I mean, it's over 3 decades later. I've had my own dojo. I've definitely improved on the diabetes front, and I'm still kicking. So obviously I did something right. But unfortunately, what I want to talk about is when I've seen the opposite. It's when I see kids I joined karate because I felt I needed it. I felt I needed something to help me along, to improve my health, basically to save my life. And I'm pretty sure that I'm pretty confident in saying that karate did in fact save my life. It gave me a lot. But unfortunately, not every kid is so lucky. Sometimes they've walked into my dojo where they've basically been dragged there, kicking and screaming, no pun intended. But seriously, a lot of parents are of the opinion, you know what, my kid needs to be in something. My kid needs to do something, needs to get into a sport, needs to get into an activity, needs to do something with their spare time. And they're not wrong about that. Kids need a structure, they need activity, they need something to do. I would be lying if I said that Nathan's energy levels aren't way above my own. So it would be great if he would be in some kind of after-school activity that, could burn up some of that energy in a healthy way. Unfortunately, the current state of the world doesn't allow for that. But as far as these kids go, I've seen kids that have come in that are just sapped of their motivation. They don't want to be there. It's clear in their body language. It's clear in how they react and how they answer. And here's the thing, folks. Yes, I agree it's important for children to have something that gives them structure, a sport they can get into, something that allows them to interact with other children, that gets them out of the house. These are all important factors. But the problem is when you force your child into something like karate, you're not just costing them something. You're costing all the other students in that dojo as well. And here's the reason why. Karate is very structured. It requires a lot of repetition, a lot of form, discipline, and dedication. And if those things aren't in place, it affects the dojo as a whole. I can tell you from experience that having watched 24 kids where about a third of them are there only because mom and dad paid the tuition, so they have no choice, or mom and dad decided I had to go and do something. and you're seeing these kids with no motivation, they're dragging their feet, and you're trying to keep the ambiance upbeat, you're trying to keep it exciting, you're trying to keep everyone motivated, and you're like, all right, come on guys, kick, go, go. Meanwhile, these few students are just kind of standing there and they're just kind of phoning it in. Yeah, maybe they're moving their arms and legs a little bit, but you can tell from their body language. One big clue is if they're not sweating like all the other kids are. That's usually a clear indication that they're not pushing themselves. But the thing is that affects the ambiance of the dojo. It affects the other students. It gets to the point where the other students are looking and they're like, okay, well, this guy's getting through class and he's not breaking a sweat. Why am I suffering so damn bad? Because kids are like that. Kids very much have a pack mentality. And for the most part, if you don't keep everyone motivated and upbeat, then it brings the whole energy of your dojo down. Okay? The other problem that it causes to the child themselves is if you force them into something, it does a lot to affect their willingness to try anything new. There's nothing wrong with saying, you know what, I found this karate class, you're going to go try it, and let your kid try a class or two. But if after those couple of classes, they're still saying, I don't like this, I don't want to go, I'm not interested in this, there's really no functional reason to force them into it. It's not going to do anything but sap their self-confidence. It's going to make it harder for you to get them to try anything new, because now they're of the opinion, well, if I actually try this thing, I'm going to end up stuck in it because mom and dad are going to force me to go. And that's not the kind of perspective you want your child to have. So whether it's karate, any martial arts, any sport, in fact, I've seen kids that have gotten into hockey and they tried it for a year or so and decided they weren't interested and it just wasn't for them. And that's hockey, and this is Canada. So, I mean, if it happens with hockey, it can happen with anything, right? So the important thing to remember is you need to let your child find their own way. I know that for myself, having done karate my entire life, having taught karate, and having reaped some of the rewards not only personally, but of having watched some children start training in karate and to grow into their own person with self-confidence and skill and the ability to defend themselves and to be able to speak with distinctive love for the art, that's priceless. It means everything to me, but it's not something I would ever force on my child. Right now, Nathan loves to punch and kick. I don't think I've ever met any child who doesn't like to pretend they're a ninja at some point, or doesn't think they're Bruce Lee at some point, or watches a cartoon or a show or a movie or something where there's fighting and stuff and they think it's exciting and they think it's fun. But as soon as you introduce that discipline and that structure and that repetition and start trying to teach them something specifically, it can be a little bit harder because kids aren't big on structure. Kids need structure, but they're not really big on it. So even though you need to impose structure in their day-to-day activities, if you start trying to impose structure in their after-school activities where they're supposed to be having fun, that becomes a bit more of a problem. So I don't push Nathan. I have a home dojo. I train at home. No choice right now, really. But the point is I don't push my child. I do karate, I do my forms, I do my kicks, my punches, my shadow boxing, all that good stuff. He sees me do it all. I've tried to have him join me in doing it a few times. He's usually not all that interested in that aspect of it, which is fine. He does what he does. Sometimes he'll do some punches and kicks. I've caught him doing push-ups and squats, and once in a while, out of the corner of my eye, when he thinks I'm not looking, I'll catch him mimicking my blocks and my techniques and stuff. So the interest is there. I'm simply not forcing him into it, because I know if I do that, I may turn him away from karate forever. And that would be a definitive loss, at least from my perspective. So that's it, guys. Hopefully you find this a little bit informative. If you have any questions or comments, by all means leave them below. And if you haven't done so yet, be sure to go check out my main website at www.thebloggingbuddhist.com and like and follow that for daily content on Buddhism, diabetes, health and fitness, and the martial arts. And I'll see you on the next one.